Today, my guests are referred to as a musical power couple by the New York Times and early members of the famed AACM. We welcome pianist, composer, and educator Adegoke Steve Colson and his wife, vocalist, composer, and educator Iqua Colson. Great to see you both again here on WBGO.
Hey, no,
Always a pleasure, Doug.
same
Always
here.
with you.
An honor for sure. Coming up on Friday, March 27th at the Town Hall's Dr. Charlotte Frank Patron Lounge in New York City will be a special event. Composers Now holds its 23rd edition of Dialogues, the organization's signature performance and conversation series hosted by founding artistic director and Pulitzer Prize winner Tania León. The night will feature my guest today. Now, Ade, you have already recorded an impact video segment, and it's a wonderful feature on you and Equa's music and life together. But before we get into the town hall event and your new recording Glow, let's go back to May 31st, 1975, a
Oh,
day that certainly changed the lives of both of you as you celebrate this 50th year of marriage. Take us back to the ceremony, Ade. What was going on?
oh man, you took me back, Doug. Well, we did an African-based ceremony, so we had our families to join together and hold hands, and we both had our African robes on, and I guess we went through a ceremony. Ceremony was relatively quick, but we all hold hands and kind of took the vow together as joint families.
Equa, your thoughts on that special day?
Well, I know our mothers bonded over what are they going to do. All our friends will be there. They were, and they became fast friends. They traveled together and everything, which was great because the idea was we're marrying two families,
Hmm.
and it worked. But my mother did take control of what I was wearing. She
Hey,
said, I don't know what you're doing, but we're going to this person to get. And it was beautiful. And our parents spoke and they went in with apprehensions and they came out, and toasted it for
yeah,
years. The
yeah,
toast was to the
yeah,
trip.
to the trip.
His
Good.
cousins all drove down
Yeah,
to Chicago. So it was great. And then we had some key people in our life in that early ACM time were present as well. George Lewis, Chico Freeman, and Douglas Ewart were in the ceremony. The parties afterwards were larger with more people, but those people we were and still are close to.
What's great about both of your careers is that they really have merged three cities, Chicago, Newark, and East Orange, all together. And the time at Northwestern was a very special time. That's where you met, right, Equa?
yes.
Yes, we met. Um, I grew up in Hyde Park in Chicago and decided to apply to music school after my junior year of high school. Like, okay, I'm done with high school. And I did manage to get in. I was joking with him because in a couple of weeks, one of his pieces will be performed at Oberlin Conservatory and recorded by International Contemporary Ensemble. And I said, I almost went to Oberlin
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have met you. But Oberlin told me, wait till your senior year is over and then come. Northwestern said, come now. The
It,
rest is history.
yeah, it was meant to be. There's no doubt about it. Really, when you think about your career, Steve, and all the great experiences and the great people that you have worked with, it really started back at Northwestern for you, especially your first year there. There was a traumatic event that took place while you were at Northwestern. Tell us about it.
Oh yeah. Well,
King,
um,
King.
King was assassinated,
Mhm.
and about a month later, we, myself and several other people, we got together and we planned how to take over the bursar's office. Um, and so the plans actually held. We had everybody that was in the black community. Basically, there were about 100 students. Well, Northwestern had a student body of about 10,000. So with all four classes together, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, even grad students. There were only about 100 blacks on the campus. So when King was assassinated, and some of the other incidents that had already taken place on the campus, we decided we had to, do something to demonstrate our position. And so there were a couple of other places that were having student takeovers, but they did it from the president's office, and so that was sort of like a figurehead office as opposed to functioning. So we decided that instead of taking the president's office, we should do something that would really, hurt the school in terms of maintaining their, being open like that. So we said, well, let's do it at the bursar's office, and then we can kind of control the checks going out. That will get their attention. And actually, they were threatened to come in with well, we did have the National Guard and the state troopers and the local police all converge on the building, but we had one person inside, and he said, well, I have the computer here, and all of the legal documents and all of the transcripts and all of that type of stuff is in this computer. And at that time there was only one computer, so all the information was localized, and we had possession of it. So we told the police, do not crash the building. And also some of the followers of the I guess it was called the watch.
Was it the weatherman?
The weatherman, yeah.
On campus.
They some of them got out in front of the building and said, well, the police, we're not going to allow the police to come in on you. So it was quite an event. And so we stayed in the building for 3 days, but we finally did get negotiations the way we wanted. And they say it is the most successful takeover of a major institution, educational institution.
I laugh because I said, they said they chose the best and the brightest when they decided they were going to bring in more African Americans, and so they they did something different from everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and isn't it fascinating that not only the music that both of you have performed through the years has had that protest feel to it, in different situations, not everything, but some of the things that you've done, but also you're both educators for life. And who knew at that time, right?
Didn't know. No, I didn't know. But because I went in as an applied major, piano major, so I was actually on a trajectory to be a classical pianist. And Northwestern was a feeder school to Chicago Symphony, so that was and at the time, actually, Chicago Symphony was considered #1 symphony in the world. So I'm thinking, wow, I'm lined up to maybe deal with the Chicago Symphony. But my interest was always jazz, performance as opposed to classical. So I did transfer into an educational track, and I think that was the best thing for me to do, because I didn't actually go to Northwestern to learn more classical music. I was just trying to get the theoretical aspects, for composition and that type of thing. But it turned out well for me.
I will say that um, part of our mother's bonding, you all are going all over the world and taking that child with you. How long can you maintain that? Who has health insurance?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But the other part of it is we enjoy our day could, be gone, have left teaching, I've retired, but you still have your hand in it. The young people, even now, more so now than ever, really need, the study of the arts. They express themselves through the arts. That's the way the culture has always been. So it's particularly, and I was teaching, we kind of had it like, all right, Ade's going to teach for 10 years in Chicago, you know, and I'm going to teach for 10 years in Jersey. So I pulled out my degree, got the job in Jersey, but it turned into much more, where I ended up being the administrator of arts programs in the schools and working with a great team of teachers, artists, And the great Cicely Tyson, who allowed us to name the school after her, she said, only if I can be involved. Well, and so she would, between who I knew and who she knew, which was vast, that became a great experience because you just want to open the kids up, let them understand the history, and therefore what they might be able to do. So it's important to both of us.
Hmm. And let's talk about Glow, the new recording. So many powerful songs, old and new. Glow was something that you wrote, Steve, back in the 60s.
Yeah, I guess around 68 or something like that. And we played it in our band early in Chicago. We played it sometimes, but then we kind of put it away because we're doing other things. And then
You were playing
Andrew,
it with Andrew.
yeah, Andrew Surreal called me up and said, "Hey, you want to join this band?" So that was tremendous because Andrew, I think, is one of the great drummers, period. Because I used to listen to the Cecil Taylor recordings, and when Andrew became the drummer in that group, the music kind of something in the music changed for me, and it just sounded as though he brought all of the different angles together in a way that hadn't been done quite that way. And so when he calls me up, I'm thinking, wow, this is my guy. He's playing with Cecil Taylor. He's played with
Coleman Hawkins.
Coleman Hawkins. I mean,
Oh,
you cover the whole spectrum. So calls me up. Turns out he's got Hannibal on the trumpet. He's got Oliver Lake on the saxophone, on alto and flutes, and he's got Reggie Workman on the bass. And I'm thinking, oh, these are some of my other heroes. So I was just very fortunate to get the call. But we did that Glow. We did perform it. Um, I was with them for about 2, 3 years.
And Glow is the title of the new recording.
and Hannibal recorded it.
Yeah, actually, Hannibal
Hannibal
was the
recorded it.
first one to record it. Actually, after we
Mm.
played in the band.
Equal, one of the tunes on the new recording that I know is an emotional one for you is Atrocities. You want to tell us a little bit about the origins of Atrocities?
Well, what can I say? Look around you.
Yeah.
It just becomes so apparent. And our great artists always say Amiri Baraka was a good friend of ours. Uh, Toni Morris, they say the artists get busy when things need, to be reconciled. They talk about it. They put it in their music, in their words, in their actions. Even the other night, our great diva ballerina, Miss Copeland, danced in the costume from Firebird that was created by
Oh,
Geoffrey
Jeffrey.
Holder.
Yeah.
And so she brought that history into an already historical piece, the ancestral dance they call of sinners. So I think I just started, putting some words down. And when the music started to come to me, I was a piano major. I just choose to, well, as Lena Horne said, girl, you married your pianist, and that's okay because me and Lenny and da 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 da, and so on and so forth. But I think after I showed him what I was thinking, what I was doing, I'm fortunate in that he's the compositional master who knows how to work the systems and put things down in the finale, uh,
Oh,
so that we
right.
have the parts and everything for everyone. But, the words just, the lyrics come from observing what's going on and feeling the need to make a statement. And people have reacted, you know, to that piece of music, uh, with giving affirmations that, they love the fact that we're saying it like it is. One of the lines is pretty, says, can you list each murdered name?
Yeah, that hit me right away.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I heard that, that was that was definitely a powerful statement. Steve, you had mentioned in the video that I was talking about, in that impact video, I believe, how Some people get the message in jazz through the lyrics, but when it's just instrumental, people can take a couple of different ways to interpret what the music means to them. That's a special part of jazz, right?
Yes, yes. Well, the arts allow your imagination to be a part of the product. So uh, it's kind of it entices you to think about things. And in the song that you were talking about, atrocities, I remember hearing it this first time that Iqua started singing it, and I was like, I kind of got hit with the same thing. Um, the images that come to mind as somebody's saying a poem or singing the words, and if they leave space, then your consciousness starts to be involved as well. So then your memories or your encounters with different situations, they come forward, in your thinking. So for me, that song was it's sort of a meditation as well. You can kind of meditate as you think about it because the ideas they come to you, like what Iqua was saying. Sometimes Iqua is just saying something to me, or I'm watching something on TV, or have a conversation, or listening to somebody else's music, and something in there sparks an idea, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, I'm working on this song. Well, how did it start? I don't know. That I heard these birds outside chirping, and I just, you know. So it's always coming from somewhere where you wouldn't expect.
But without the word, without lyrics,
Mm.
you know, um, you're still evoking feelings. And I mean, it's music, all of the arts are important. I can, I do stick figures as far as visual art. He's can do visual art, but I've done theater, dance, and of course, music. And the artist puts a lot of themselves into it with whatever training they may or may not have had. And they're sharing with audiences and, hoping that it touches them in a significant way.
So you've already had a recording that you did with Tania León. Now this will be a live event at the town hall, so that's will be something special. Does she mean something to you? I mean, all the accolades and being an educator as well, Iqua, to sit down and have a conversation with her and talk about your lives together and your music. That has to be also extremely important to you.
It's fabulous. And the thing is, Tanya told us when we saw her, I hadn't seen her in several years. Tanya used to come to Cicely
Yeah, she
Tyson
was coming to
School
shoot.
with Miss Tyson and Arthur Mitchell because she, when she got in New York, I don't know exactly the chronology, but she ended up working at Dance Theater of Harlem. And so Cicely and Arthur were very close. So among the many people she brought to the school, they were regulars. But I never discussed my art with the various people who came there. We had conversations, but it was all about what was going on in the school and the work we were doing with the young people. So when we saw her again at an event, she says, "Oh, you too. I'd like to do something with you." And we're going,
Yeah, what?
you know, George has been involved with her. Henry Threadgill has been involved with her. I think he was or is on her board. And so the association is there with some of our closest colleagues. But when she said that, it became, and she also mentioned to me at that time something I didn't know. She considered Cicely a mentor because she had come from Cuba and was getting acclimated to the whole New York scene. But yeah, she was a Kennedy Center honoree for
Yeah.
which I was very proud. And the music that they played, they actually had DTH there performing to one of her pieces. They always do something the artist has done. So it's great. And what she's doing in terms
Yeah.
of showcasing composers. She says she's
Yeah.
very much about it, and she doesn't have to do it. She's revered and proven, but she wants to make sure other composers are being heard, and so it's an honor really to work with her in this way.
Now, will the audience get to ask any questions during the program?
I think so. We went to a dialogues presentation she did in the Bronx, and people were she after you perform, she's talking to the artist, but then questions, yes, are being asked as well.
That's great, and that's coming up on March 27th. You know, you mentioned the Cicely Tyson School of Performing and Fine Arts. Both of you worked with NJ Pack from its beginnings, and you served Iqua as the art specialist on the team who designed and built the Cicely Tyson School of Performing and Fine Arts in East Orange. And I don't know if I ever told you this, Iqua, but I think it's the greatest moment I ever had at WBGO was back in 1999 when Cicely Tyson wheeled up Rosa Parks
Mm.
uh,
Oh yeah.
to come to the school, and it was a spectacular performance by the students. Harp
Mm-hmm.
ensembles, there was
Mm-hmm.
poetry, there was jazz ensembles. I left that, and I had only been at WBGO starting in '98. I left that so inspired that
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was my first award-winning piece because I had so much to say, and then I realized you can't say it all on the radio. You have to trim it down. I had
Mm-hmm.
all these long, but it was a 13-minute piece that aired on WBGO because I remember she was very frail at the time, Rosa Parks, and I went to just put my hand near her, and the security made sure I didn't get too close because she was very frail. But she was inspired, and I just remember she only said a few words, and it was like, "Thank you very much. This means so much to me," and it was a powerful moment in my life. So it's always an honor when I know somebody who helped build that school, what that has meant to me through the years. So let's
Well,
talk a little bit more about this collaboration that the two of you have. When you talked a little bit about how ideas are formed, and now with this new recording, have you learned anything else about yourself during this recording that after 50 years you didn't know?
But you guys, you do.
well, I know, and we were up at Van Gelder Studios, which was an experience in and of itself. We had Andrew and Mark Elias, both incredible musicians who we've worked with in various over the years at various times. So I know for me, as with all singers, your voice changes. So this is the first time that I've recorded, really noticing, okay, there's adjustments that I've had to make along the way, and this is everybody. In fact, the couple at Van Gelder were full of stories
Oh,
about all the great recordings that have been done there
I bet.
recently, as well as in the years past, and the various vocalists they've worked with, um, and so they really are. That was historic in and of
yeah,
itself. We
yeah.
deliberately went there. Ade is a Steinway artist, and they have two fabulous Steinways. Each of them has a story, you know. So we enjoyed that, but at this point, our work is kind of seamless. We know who each other are is.
Is
Yeah,
um,
I would imagine that
and yeah, so it was just we decided deliberately to do some vocal and some instrumental, and that's the second time that we've done that on purpose. And it was a format that served us well. You know, well, I do find that people have a hard time categorizing us, which I don't think they should do. I think they should just take the music for what it is.
that's right. That's exactly right. And growing up in East Orange for you, you listened to your parents' records, Ellington, Armstrong, Ella,
yeah,
and you started piano lessons at 9 years old with your teacher, Henry Smith. How
yes.
often do you think about Henry Smith?
Oh, it's like he probably runs through my mind. Definitely, like I would almost say it's daily. Um, because I sit at the piano. I try to get to it every day. But generally, if I'm tinkering with the keys, Mr. Smith comes to mind. because he was he was like really fabulous musician because all the people knew him as having been a prodigy when he was young, and he was playing and he started to invent his own notation, not realizing that notation was already invented, right? So he had his own little form of writing down the notes and things. But he wound up being a first call rehearsal pianist for New York Metropolitan Opera. And so he worked with a lot of really wonderful artists like Richard Tucker, Robert Merrill. Um, and then at a certain point, I found out that he was Mary Martin's pianist, and she was the role of Peter Pan, right? So they come. My parents said, Mr. Smith is playing. He's the pianist for Peter Pan, And I was like, Peter Pan, I was all excited, and because Mary Martin was the first Peter Pan on television, right? And I'm thinking, my teacher is playing the piano for Peter Pan. I couldn't quite conceptualize it.
But the catch was, he could not get on stage with them because he was African American.
Yeah, but they would restrict him on stage. Yeah, but yeah, he was quite a musician. So he was the organist at my church, but he was also the pianist at the high school, East Orange High.
Well, since this is a Newark base, say your church, Bethany.
Well, Bethany. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Yes. The tales of Bethany Baptist Church are legendary on WBGO because of its former pastor and of course our very own NEA jazz master Dorthon Kirk, who I know is great friends with you as well. Steve, I have to ask you, as you look back on this wonderful anniversary of you and Iqua and this new recording, things are going great. Things aren't slowing down. And if you want to find out more music information, full-time professor at Bloomfield College.
Oh, yeah. I'm at Bloomfield College, still there.
Yeah, and how are the students reacting to jazz right now?
They are really getting into it further. They have a reluctance. They think, well, that jazz, I've heard about it, and I said, well, have you listened to it? Well, no. So I said, okay, we'll listen to something. And then they realize some of their people that they do listen to, the rap artists, the hip hop people, they do listen to the record. So when I throw a few names and say, did you know that Q-Tip listens to the music? What? Do you know that Rakim listened to what? And so then they start thinking, wait a second, I have Rakim and Q-Tip and Tribe Called Quest, and I've got all. I said, yeah, those guys listen to it. So then they start thinking, wait, because they're thinking, well, I want to emulate those people, but I've given them a little information that, oh, I didn't know that they listen to that type of music. I said, you should listen to all types of music, every type of music. So they gradually start to go and, on their own, start to pick out different artists. And I tell them at the end, okay, you have to write me a paper. You could choose the artist, but you have to write me a 4-page paper on what you heard and so on and so forth. And they come back later. In fact, I had one just yesterday come back. I haven't seen him about 3 years. And he stuck his head in the door. Hey, Mr. Colson, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good. How you doing? Oh, I'm trying to get it together. I'm listening to some Miles Davis now. I said, okay, it's all good.
And he said, and by the way, where's your CD? I need to get a copy.
Yeah, he asked me.
Last year, we did a concert in New York, and 3 or 4 of his students came, and they were just so full of energy. And, that's what you want. I think college was where a lot of people started doing a lot of serious listening to, whatever their roommates had. And so you begin to learn more about all kinds of music. So it's a good look. We can't go anywhere where one of us doesn't have a student, and they'll say, hey, Miss, we came out of Neiman Marcus one night up there in Short Hills, and all of a sudden we hear Professor Colson, and a young man emerges from the back. How you had me, and they remember all of it, or driving through Popeye's Chicken. Hey, Mr. Colson.
And you know what? I bet you enjoy that more than having a professional coming up to you and say, I enjoy your music, because you've touched the lives of young people, and it might not even have been their genre of music before you met them.
Right. Yep. Yep. It's very interesting how once they get that little hook, it kind of pulls them in.
And the
Uh,
real definition of education is to pull out of the young person, not pour a bunch of facts in. It's not about memorization. That may be a part of it when you're talking about your times tables, but you really want them to be able to think and assess. And the arts certainly play a role in that for sure.
So as we wrap up this interview with this special couple, we just have a couple of minutes left. I wanted to ask if you had an opportunity to do one more song together on stage, what would that tune be? It could be yours or somebody else's. What would that tune be and why?
mm, you get that one.
Well, it's funny, you might ask. The first piece we worked together on, we used to perform in Chicago a lot. He had written it, and I said, "Oh, I think I'll put lyrics to it." And that was the beginning of the partnership. And that piece is called Mellow, Quiet, C. So I would say that it's about time it's like Glow. Hannibal did a beautiful job, and we were trying to think what we were going to balance the album with. We came up with Glow, as well as new things that he had just finished. So I would say Mellow Quiet C
Like
would
that.
be a good
Good
choice
choice. Good choice.
That's
of ours.
wonderful to hear that. Some of the other tunes that you will hear on Glow Music for Trio at Voice is Getting Comfortable, Clouds on a Sunny Day for Freddie. Just some of the tunes that we haven't had a chance to talk about today, but you definitely want to check out. And you can also see that impact video on YouTube. If you put in Adegoke Steve Colson and Iqua Colson, you will see that there. Composers now holding its 23rd edition of Dialogues, and that will be hosted by the wonderful Tania León. And that night is on March 27th at the Town Hall's Dr. Charlotte Frank Patron Lounge in New York City. It will be indeed a event that you will want to be. I love history, and talking to the Colsons, it's the perfect time for me to just get that rush, right? Because go back to that protest in 1968, go back to you listening to jazz at the age of, and playing piano at the age of 9, and equal your connection with Cicely Tyson and the School of Performing Arts and the 50 years of you together. It's once again an honor and a pleasure to speak with both of you. Equa, thanks for reaching out to me, by the way.
Absolutely. As far as we've had a couple of positive experiences with you over the years,
Oh yeah.
listened to your work. So I was just hoping that you might be interested and available. So luck was on my side.
When it's the Colsons, I'm available. Thank you, Steve, so
Okay.
much, and
Hey.
congratulations, and really enjoy the March 27th event. It will be something special.
Thanks a lot, Doug.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.